I'm going to vote, and the reason I'm going to vote is for Gerald Nadler, because I've been on the Upper West Side for 30 years, and Gerald is a real tribute to public service. He's always there for the community, and thank you for doing that. So we're actually here at not far from the election polls. So how do you feel today?
I'm feeling pretty good. You never take a primary for granted, but things are looking good. I think most people hopefully appreciate the work I've done and want to support it. And they know also that the only reason I'm facing a challenge is because I voted for the president's agreement with Iran to prevent them from getting nuclear weapons, and most people approve that. So, and I know, and I knew then that if I'd voted no, I wouldn't have had a challenge, but voting yes invited a challenge, but you have to follow your conscience and you have to do what you think is right. So
and that's what you've done for all these years. You've followed your conscience. I know this from many, many, many sources, many people that said Gerald's going to do what he thinks right. It's not what's going to get him into office. It's what you think is right. Where do you think that came from in you? Where does that honor come from?
When I was a kid, I was always taught that ultimately you have to do what's right. You have to live with yourself. You have to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning. You know, like, how can you vote on the Iran deal? I concluded that the Iran deal is most likely to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb. Having concluded that, right or wrong, but that was my conclusion. If I had voted the other way, I would be voting to increase the odds that they'd have a nuclear bomb, which is to say to increase the odds that there'd be a nuclear war with Israel, the United States. How could I live with myself if I did that? You just can't. You have to be true to yourself first. As it happens, I think most people on the West Side, most people in the district agree with me. It wasn't clear last September that was going to be the case, but I think it is clear now. But I remember voting. I've always believed in what Sir Edmund Burke said. Sir Edmund Burke is a famous British parliamentarian. In his address to the electors of Bristol in 1774, he said, "Your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment too, and he betrays rather than serves you if he sacrifices it to your opinion."
They could use him right now.
Well, I quoted that. There was in the assembly many years ago when I was an assemblyman, there was a debate on the death penalty. And the death penalty at that point was very popular. And all the Republicans were voting for it. About 2/3 of the Democrats were voting against, about 1/3 were voting for it. And Democrat after Democrat was getting up and saying, well, even though it may be popular in my district, my conscience tells me I have to vote with my conscience, I'm voting no. And a Republican named John Flanagan, in fact the father of the current Senate Majority Leader, got up and he started baiting the Democrats. And he said, well, I'm glad you're indulging your consciences now because you won't be here next year to indulge it. That got me very annoyed, so I got up and I asked Mr. Flanagan if he'd yield for a question. He said yes. So I'm sorry, I didn't ask him to yield. I got up and I quoted Sir Edmund Burke. I said, your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment too, and he betrays rather than serves you if he substitutes it for your opinion. And he then asked me a question. He said, will Mr. Nadler yield for a question? I said, yes. He said, well, were you aware that Sir Edmund Burke lost the ensuing election? And I said, yes. Would Mr. Flanagan yield for a question? He said, yes. I said, do you know the name of the right honorable gentleman who defeated Sir Edmund Burke? He said, no. And I said, and neither does anyone else.
All right. There it is.
Remember Sir Edmund Burke.
Last question. We've asked many people this because we have the International Day of Peace on September 21st, Central Park at Times Square, and we're very involved with peace for a long time, 14, 15 years. What does peace mean to you?
Well, obviously peace means an absence of conflict, but what it really means is trying to figure out ways of settling our differences without killing each other, obviously. And we still have so much slaughter in the world. I mean, the scholars tell us that there is less human violence today than there was, and we're slowly making progress, but still millions of people die in wars. They die from weapons, die from starvation, die from hunger. Our response to the refugees, any war creates refugees. You can't live in a war zone. And our response to the refugees has been so minor and timid. I mean, countries in Europe are taking 1 million refugees or whatever, and we're taking 2,800 is convulsing our politics. 2,800 Syrians The president said we would admit 10,000 Syrian refugees. So far, we're processing 2,800 in a country of 320 million people. And there are people who say it's too many, and we should be wary of that. I remember, and maybe there are some ISIS agents or fifth columnists among them. I don't remember, I wasn't there, but I know the same arguments were used in 1939 and 40. You can't let the Jewish refugees in Europe into this country. Maybe there are Nazi agents, maybe there are communist agents among them, and look what happened. You have to be a haven.
Gerald Nadler, congratulations.
Good conversation.
Thank you very much,
Thank
my
you.
friend. Thank you.
And you are?
I'm Electra Arenal.
Hi.
We're right near
Oh.
here.
Are you a registered Democrat?
Every time I am.
Vote today in the Democratic primary for Congressman Nadler.
Thank you.